championship. You can't beat Alabama, you're no good. If you took Alabama out of the sport, I think Notre Dame can go toe-to-toe last 5 years with everybody, including Georgia. I've seen it twice. This is actually, in my opinion, not a very good Notre Dame team.
This version this year?
No, they're
not as good as they've been in the last couple of years.
Alabama can just reload. Notre Dame doesn't. They have down years. I think they're just coaching their way to win. So I don't think they're that much better than Wisconsin. I don't think they're a 42-13 better team than Wisconsin.
No, their game plan was terrific last week, and it was so what's the word? It was heartening to go meet with them on Thursday last week, and we went in there because I never get a chance to actually go meet in person with Notre Dame. It's always calls because we don't do their home games. So because the game was in Chicago, I thought I'm going to go out a day early and go to Notre Dame and meet with them in person. And I'm so glad that I did because you actually get kind of a better feel for the culture, the atmosphere, and for the people in general versus doing a Zoom or doing a conference call. And I came away from that even more impressed with Notre Dame than I had been before. And it was largely due to the fact that when I meet with coaches in person, you get a really good sense based on what game plan that they're about to use in the game. Listen, I watch the film. I know what I'm looking at. And so I can tell when a game plan's not going to be great.
Right.
Right? I mean, you just do. And you can tell when a guy's ego is getting in the way of his game plan. Well, I don't care what they do on defense. We'll be able to run the ball. Okay. No, you won't. Right? And that would have been the case if Notre Dame said, listen, we're Notre Dame. We're going to run the ball against Wisconsin. And to their credit, they didn't do that. They said, listen, if we hand the ball off, it's going to be a token handoff. Jack's going to have to throw the ball 40, 45 times in order to do it. And they had a game plan that was setting themselves up to win, and then they won.
Yeah.
And I think that in large part, that belief seeps down into their players. You know, and obviously that kick return from Chris Tyree is really what kind of blew the game wide open. And obviously Pine did a nice job coming in. But it was set up by the fact that their plan was correct from the get-go. The only reason they were in the game 10-10 to start the fourth quarter or whatever it was is because they weren't trying to sit there and run their head into a brick wall.
That's right.
The entire game. So I agree with you. I think Notre Dame is probably a year or two away from being really, really good, but this team is maximizing itself based on the fact that the coaches are putting them in great positions to succeed.
So this week you have Michigan at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And this is interesting. I get asked about, there's a lot of Michigan graduates apparently out in California.
Okay.
I don't know if that's where they're migrating to, but everywhere I go, there's Michigan people out here. And I must get on Saturdays, if I go to the grocery store, there's Michigan hats. There's somebody, hey, what do you think of Harbaugh? And I'm like, listen, he can't get the quarterback right. I think he's done a lot right. He can't figure it out. And I can't figure out how he can't figure it out because he's a former quarterback. Don't tell me. The school had Tom Brady. It had Kerry Collins, I think. I mean, they've had good NFL quarterbacks.
Kerry Collins was a Penn State guy.
My
they
bad.
had Brian Greasy.
Elvin Skirbaugh.
Then it was like Drew Henson and Brady.
They've had good quarterbacks.
They've had pretty good quarterbacks.
By Big Ten standards, excellent. So let's just talk Michigan right now. And I want to talk a little bit about the offense. They do appear to have a little more juice.
Yeah. So, first of all, they did a great self-scout in the offseason. And they realized what they were doing well and what they weren't doing well. They threw the ball too often last year and thought that they were going to spread it out and become one of these high-flying teams that could go and score a lot of points in this spread system. And Josh Gaddis did that at Alabama, and then it wasn't paying off at Michigan. It just wasn't in their DNA. And while he liked some of the pieces that they have, you know what they've done? They went back to the run game, but not just the run game that he brought. There was this marriage between the spread run game that Josh Gaddis has and what Harbaugh was at Stanford, which is I know this is technical stuff, but heavy gap team. They're going to pull linemen, and they're going to get downhill. And so now they're trying to marry that up, similar to what Oklahoma has done the last couple of years, similar to what the Baltimore Ravens have done, by the way. Very similar to what John Harbaugh has done with Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens. And that marriage of committing to the run game, but also expanding how they're attacking in the run game, has really benefited them. Now, what remains to be seen is when that gets taken away, can they throw the ball? Has the quarterback developed? And last week, it didn't. They only completed one pass in the second half against Rutgers. One. Now, Rutgers is vastly improved under Greg Schiano. But I can't wait to see this week when they go up against what I feel like is somewhat of an immovable force in the front seven of that Wisconsin defense. Can Michigan go out there and throw the football to move it? Because last week, Notre Dame told me, we ain't running the ball on these guys. They're too good. They're too big.
Right.
And so this week with Michigan, will they be able to throw the football? I think is a fascinating storyline going into this game.
By the way, Saturday at noon, Fox, Michigan at Wisconsin. I'll be watching. I love these Midwest college football games.
Do you? I feel like you
God.
always rip on the Midwest.
No. Hey, listen, I fly over it all the time and admire it.
Unbelievable.
So,
that type of
it's very
You know what
elitist.
people in the Midwest do that I also do weekly? Enjoy donuts. You're welcome. I love donuts, and so do you.
Hey, I like beer. They like it there. Okay, let's segue to this.
Do you mix it in with your wine?
No, I don't like wine.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm hearing about, Alabama's going to roll everybody. And I don't really take, when you go to Florida in the SEC, when you go to an SEC road game, yes, that's when Florida can play with Alabama.
Sure.
Okay, but I do when I watch Georgia play, and this is about the third time in 4 years, I do look at it and say, if you switch jerseys, I'm not sure I could tell much. It does look like Georgia and Bama feel like a cut above.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that. And I think, now having said that, I also think that the sport is in a really good spot because there's a lot of teams vying for those next couple of spots.
Yeah.
Right? I think that 3, 4, 5, 6 is somewhat interchangeable. I think that even more teams are going to have a shot at the playoff. But you're right. Alabama and Georgia seem a cut above, and I can't wait for this matchup because this is going to be the first version of Georgia where Kirby has adjusted on the offensive side and can also be explosive. Remember, he was just trying to go in there and say, okay, we're going to out Alabama by just playing great defense and running the football and doing what Bama did in 2012. And the problem is that he didn't realize that Nick had done an amazing job of evolving as a program and becoming a program that could go beat Ole Miss, whatever it was last year, 62-47.
Right.
And also win the big tough games. But that's why I'm so fascinated with this Georgia team this year is that with JT Daniels, who's completing over 70% of his passes, he can get vertical down the field.
Yeah.
He can be explosive on offense. Meanwhile, they have a defense that's only given up like one touchdown.
No, it's like you can watch Georgia's defense. It's all NFL bodies.
That's exactly right.
It's all NFL guys.
That's exactly right. So this matchup this year, and I expect to see Georgia and Alabama in the SEC championship, and I expect both of them to also go to the playoff. But this year feels different just because Georgia has also evolved. And so we're going to see Kirby's first opportunity to play on what I would say similar footing with Bama.
Okay, so, I like to be measured in my opinions. And every year I
Telling
hear
America you've only had 5 donuts in your life is not measured.
probably 3.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. Hey,
I don't even know what to do with this right now.
but I watched Spencer Rattler.
Okay.
And everybody's like, that guy's a #1 pick. And my takeaway is, I don't know. I don't know.
Take the lightning bolts out of your eyes.
Okay, timeout. Big arm, sloppy, mechanics. You guys all got this guy as...
You're totally blinded to the problems in front of Spencer Rattler, which is fine. Listen, I get it. I get it. You can see speed randomly from an NFL defense, which congratulations, you did. You saw it. Your lion eyes,
Like X-ray
they
vision.
didn't lie to you. X-ray vision. Apparently on Saturdays, your X-ray vision takes the day off for college football. But I think that the problem isn't with Rattler for OU.
Okay.
I think that he is special from a talent perspective. And yes, he can force the ball at times. But the problem with Oklahoma is their offensive line.
Okay.
Their offensive line has been atrocious this year. And I don't normally say that about college kids.
Oklahoma
it's been terrible.
Almost always has a great O-line.
Which has been the surprising part, which is why Rattler, everyone's like, what's wrong with Rattler? You just assume that everything else is similar with Oklahoma.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is they can't block down linemen. Akeem Mesidor, number 90 for West Virginia, was unblocked about 5 or 6 times. They don't do a good job getting movement on the double team. So when they're trying to pull their guard and tackle around for their bread and butter play, the GT play, they can't get them going up the field. The backs have guys in their face. Rattler has guys in their face. And it's a chain reaction. You see, if you can't run the football at Oklahoma, and I know Riley's an air raid guy. He's not. He's a run-oriented coach. And the reason that is because when he runs it well, he gets to the play action game. That creates the explosive plays.
Yeah.
When you've got play action, now you can also be two-dimensional in your passing game and drop back and pass without pass rushers coming after you. They've got none of that right now.
All right.
And Rattler has almost no chance to succeed. Their fan base was chanting for their backup quarterback last week, and that was an atrocious look for what otherwise I feel like is a very good fan base. Stop chanting for the backup quarterback to go out there and have guys in his lap. You know what's going to be different for Caleb Williams?